Hello students, very good afternoon. Welcome to NEET Crash Course Chemistry brought to you by Practically. As you all know, the NEET exam has been scheduled on 12th of September. Yeah. So on the grounds of that, Practically has brought exclusively a NEET Crash Course for you. I am your tutor, Mayur S. More. I am going to cover the chemistry part of that NEET Crash Course. We have already finished almost 7 to 8 chapters. We have covered the seventh session. Okay, and today we are at the eighth session of our NEET Crash Course, where I will be covering one of the highly weightage chapter is General Organic Chemistry. This chapter is going to be the fundamental for your whole organic chemistry, and it is extremely important for you. Okay, and that is why we're going to cover this chapter. Okay, so let's begin. Welcome to you all. Very good afternoon. So GOC covering so many concepts. Okay, now it is not actually easy, or in fact, I would say it is not possible to cover all those chapters in just single lecture. Okay, so I have brought a questions from a different concepts. Okay, so we will be covering solving those questions, and through that questions I will be covering the concepts. Okay, chalo. So let's begin. Very first question for you is carbanion. Carbanion is a base, is a nucleophile, or both A and B. Now you all know carb anion, as the name says, carb anion. Okay, that means carbon having a negative charge. Carbon having a negative charge. For example, CH3 1 minus or CH3 1 minus. This can attack H plus ion. This can attack H plus ion to give you CH4, or this can also attack another carbon which is electrophilic. For example, carbonyl carbon. It can attack on carbonyl carbon to give you CH3CO minus H whatever it is, but it can attack electrophilic carbon. And this property of it to attack on electrophilic carbon is called as nucleophilic property. So it is a nucleophile, we all know. And having a negative charge, every compound that is having a negative charge can always attack H plus ion. That means it will always show basicity, because attacking on H plus ion is called as basicity. Attacking on electrophilic carbon is called as nucleophilicity. Okay, basicity is a thermodynamic quantity, whereas nucleophilicity is a kinetic property. Okay, but we are not going to discuss that in a much detail. We are only going to restrict ourselves to the carbanion here. So as you seen, carbanion can act as a base. It can act as a nucleophile as well, and that is why it acts as a base, both as a nucleophile. And that is why our answer here has to be C. Okay. It can act both as A and B. Okay. Now, next, electrophile. Out of these four, which is electrophile? So let me tell you which species are electrophile. See, for any species to be called as electrophile, first of all, let me tell you what is the meaning of electrophile. See, this word electrophile. Electro means they are referring electron here, and phile means to what? Phile means to love, or phile means to have attraction for, or to have affinity for. So any species which is having a affinity for the electron has to be electron deficient itself, right? Only electron deficient species can have affinity for the electron. Now, which species are having an affinity for electrons are called as electrophiles. And that is why I have put a plus symbol there. So any species which is having a plus charge. Now let me cross myself here. Not every species having a positive charge can referred as an electrophile. For example, NH3 plus, NH4 plus, it is not electrophile. Why it is not electrophile? Because here nitrogen is having a two lone pair, and those two lone pair, whenever it donates to H plus ion through a coordinate bond, it gives you NH4 plus. So this is not electrophile because octet of nitrogen has been complete. So any species which is having incomplete octet. So instead of positive charge, I would rather say any species which is having an incomplete octet can be referred as electrophile. Or there are some positively charged species also. For example, hydrogen. H plus ion is one of the very strong electrophile. Then you have R plus. Whenever I will mention R here, what is the meaning of R? R means any alkyl group. Any alkyl group can be referred as R. So R plus, that means carbocation. And we all know the octet of carbocation is not completed. Carbocation is having only 6 electrons in its outermost shell. So that means its octet is incomplete. So it will act as an electrophile. So H plus, R plus, then all the carbonyl compounds, C double bond O. This having a delta plus here, oxygen is having a delta minus here. So this is also electrophilic. And apart from this, you also have a Lewis acids. All the Lewis acids are electrophiles because Lewis acids are the compounds which are having electron deficient orbit. They are having an electron empty orbitals there, or I would say empty orbitals. Or any species which is having an empty orbital would always be an electrophile, whether that species is having a positive charge or not. For example, let me give you an example of carbene. If you write the carbene would be represented like this. See, this could be a hydrogen here. Okay, let's take a hydrogen, and then you are having a lone pair here. So this lone pair, there are 2 electrons. So if you look at the number of electrons carbon possessing here are 6 electrons. But this carbon do not have any charge over it. It does not have a positive charge, nor it has a negative charge. It is a neutral species. But despite that, it is electron deficient. And that is why I always say the sign of electrophilicity is the presence of empty orbital or the presence of incomplete octet, irrespective of the charges. Charges could be anything. Okay. So if you look at this 4 options, you got H2O there. In H2O, you got a lone pair on oxygen. Okay. The 2 lone pair on oxygen are there. So it is actually a nucleophile because oxygen can donate those lone pair. There is no question of oxygen being called as electrophile here. Okay. Similarly, nitrogen. Nitrogen is having a lone pair here, single lone pair, right? That will also can be donated, and NH3 can also act as a nucleophile. AlCl3. We all know AlCl3 is a Lewis acid because your aluminum is attached to 3 chlorine from 3 sides. Okay. And if you count the number of electrons, your aluminum, which is a central atom here, is having a 6 electrons only. So it is short of 2 electrons from completing its octet. That makes it electron deficient and hence electrophile. That is why our answer here has to be AlCl3. That's for sure. Lastly, let's look at the last option, whether it is electrophilic or nucleophilic. Again, nitrogen is having a lone pair. This lone pair can be donated by nitrogen, and that is how nitrogen can act as a nucleophile here. So basically A, B and D, all 3 are nucleophile except for the C, AlCl3, that is electrophile. And that is why our answer here is AlCl3, option C. Okay, so moving ahead. Which of the following species has a pyramidal shape? Now, pyramidal shape actually is shown by species which is of this type: A, B, 3 and lone pair. A, B, 3 lone pair. That means it should have 3 auxiliary atoms and 1 lone pair on a central atom. For example, NH3. NH3 plus lone pair. Because if you have AB4 and no lone pair, it will be having a tetrahedral shape, right? AB3 single lone pair, pyramidal shape. AB2 and 2 lone pair, it will be V-shaped geometry as possessed by your water molecule. Okay, so AB3, let's look at how many species are falling into this category. Okay. First one is CH3 plus. CH3 plus, that means it is AB3 plus. And AB3 plus species means carbocation. So hybridization is sp2. Hybridization sp2, therefore shape has to be trigonal planar. Last BF3. BF3 is also sp2, and sp2 has a trigonal planar shape. Both of these are trigonal planar. CH3 minus, that means what? Carbanion. And a carbanion has sp3 hybridization, and sp3 can be pyramidal shape. Not only for that it is a sp3, because sp3 has to be tetrahedral also, it can be v-shaped also, it can be pyramidal shape also. It depends on how many auxiliary atoms and lone pair are there. If you look at the CH3, it is AB3 and a lone pair, which that means it should have a pyramidal shape, and it does have a pyramidal shape. So carbanion is having a pyramidal shape. That is why our answer here has to be C. Okay, I hope you must have enjoyed this. If you really like this station, you can like this video. Okay, you can comment also, and you can please subscribe to our channel, which is Practically Live on YouTube. Okay, so moving ahead, the decreasing order. The decreasing order of an acid strength indicated by the following sequence of reaction is. So if you look at the very first reaction, this reaction is having a 3 pH group. pH means what? Benzene ring, right? pH. Now I'm writing pH because I don't have much space here. So I need to finish it up in a small space. It is attached with the hydrogen. Now this hydrogen is having an acidic nature. Why it has having an acidic nature? Because if the hydrogen goes from here in the form of H plus ion, your species will be remaining with a C minus and 3 pH. Now when 3 pH are attaching to the C minus, this negative charge can be delocalized over 3 benzene ring, and that will make conjugate base more stable. Whenever conjugate base is more stable, acid has to be strong. Okay, chalo next. Now here you got Na plus and NH2 minus. So this NH2 minus is abstracting a proton from here, and what goes out is ammonia. Ammonia goes out and you get this. So when you get this, you are getting ammonia. Now if the ammonia is releasing H plus ion over this, then you could have said that ammonia is a stronger acid than this, but you are clearly seeing it. Ammonia's conjugate base is abstracting the H plus ion from here. That means ammonia's conjugate base, if you consider ammonia as an acid, then NH2 minus must be its conjugate base. And if the conjugate base is stronger, that means acid is weaker. And we are seeing this hydrogen is acidic, that's fine, but it is not that acidic. Whenever you have a hydrogen attached to carbon, it can be acidic, but generally it should not be that acidic as much as the hydrogen attached to oxygen and halogens are. Hydrogen attached to halogens, that means chlorine, bromine, iodine, fluorine and oxygen, and sometimes nitrogen also. If nitrogen is having a positive charge, then these hydrogens are highly acidic in nature. Okay, so that means this hydrogen is not that acidic, but NH2 minus is abstracting hydrogen from that position. That means it must be a very strong base, and since it is a very strong base, that means its acid must be weaker. Remember this as a golden rule. Stronger acids always has a weak conjugate base and vice versa. That means weak acids will have a stronger conjugate base. Same is applicable for the bases. The bases which are stronger will have a weak conjugate acid. The bases which are weaker will have a stronger conjugate acid. Okay. Next you got C2H2. C2H2 is what? It's a acetylene. HC triple bond CH. Here in acetylene, your hydrogen is attached to sp hybridized carbon, and sp hybridized carbon is having a 50% S character, right? You got sp hybridization, no? So there are two hybrid orbitals, s and p. So the percentage s for that is how much? 50%. So if it is a 50%, that means percentage s character is higher, and whenever the percentage s character is higher, the acidity of that given species also increases. Acidity increases. So when the acidity increases, this H plus ion can be abstracted by a base. So here you got a proton got removed from here, as we saw earlier. You got a C minus Na plus. Now this C minus is attacking on this proton. Abstracting a proton from here, you must be getting a C minus Na plus here. Now we just had seen here, when the proton from this species were removed by NH minus to give you NH3, that case we came to conclusion that means your NH3 must be a weaker acid than this. Okay. Now in this case, your triphenyl carbanion C minus is abstracting a proton from this to get you PH3CH, which you get back, which you got back, and you got what? HC, proton got abstracted, so you got a carbanion counterbalanced by Na plus. Na plus came from here. Okay. What does this mean now? This means that acetylene must be more acidic than this species. Okay. And lastly, now you have a acetylene as a negative charge. When it reacts with the water here, you are seeing that it is abstracting a proton from a water now. See, to get your acetylene back. And what you get? OH minus plus Na plus. That gives you NaOH back. So H plus ion is releasing H plus ion over this. That means water must be more acidic than acetylene. That is how the whole this chain goes like that. And that is why if you look at all these four options, H2O must be highly most acidic, then acetylene, then you have this triphenyl methane, and lastly you will have ammonia. If you look at all the four options, yeah, if you look at a B option, H2O higher than acetylene, higher than PH3CH, lastly NH3. And that is why our answer here has to be B. So that is how you can solve such question. That is a way to solve such questions. Okay, sure. Moving ahead. In which of the following compounds is hydroxylic proton most acidic? Hydroxylic proton, that means this proton, OH, 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 and OH. Now remember, whenever you are checking the acidity, you see, let me tell you the golden rule for acidity. Your hydrogen should be attached. Your hydrogen should be attached to E. Suppose if it is attached to E, and then your E should be attached to EWG. What is mean by EWG? If you have learned the GOC that much, you must be knowing what is EWG, what is EDG. EWG means electron withdrawing group, and EDG means electron donating group. So your E attached to EWG making this hydrogen acidic in nature. Now your E could be oxygen, it could be nitrogen, it could be halogen, and in fact phosphorus also, but let's do not consider hydrogen phosphorus here. It could be oxygen, nitrogen, halogen, and in some cases it could be carbon also, sulfur also. Okay, so if hydrogen is attached to any of these elements, and if those elements is attached to electron withdrawing group, that will make that hydrogen more acidic in nature. Now if you look at all these options, you can see this is the alcohol. Basically all these four compounds are alcohol. They are, and one of the hydrogen from those alcohols are being substituted by fluorine in first case, iodine in a second case, fluorine again in a third case, and fluorine again in a fourth case. Okay, so all of this, we know that halides are minus I group. They are minus I group. Minus I group means what? Electron withdrawing group. They will withdraw the electron density away from your system. Okay, now we already know if the fluorine is there, iodine cannot be the most acidic, because fluorine is the most electronegative element and it is less electronegative than iodine. sorry, it is less electronegative than fluorine, and therefore iodine cannot act as a stronger electron withdrawing group when it is being compared with the fluorine. Okay, now fluorine is present in three cases: A, C, and D. So that is common. Now you need to check what? You need to check the distance, how close it is to this OH system. This is EH, right? Here your E is what? O. So how close it is to OH system? The system where it is most closer to OH, it will be the most acidic, because more closer to it, it will be pulling the electron density more strongly, and that will make the OH bond more, what I would say, OH bond more polar, and that will be more acidic. Okay, if you look at here, this is the position where your OH is attached, this carbon. So this is first, second. It is attached to second carbon. This is not in question at all. Here it is attached to 1, 2, third carbon. If you look at here, it is attached right there on the first carbon. So distance is less here. So as the distance is less, it must be acting as a strong electron withdrawing group here. And that is why it must be making it most acidic. And that is why your D has to be most acidic. If you ask me second number, after D, it must be A, because it is at the second position, right? Then it must be, let's count this also now. 1, 2, 3. Yeah, it is attached at 3 position, third position. Here also it is attached at third position. So both fluorine and iodine are attached at the third position in B and C. But we know, so if the third position is a common, we need to look at their electronegativity. And as we know, fluorine is more electronegative than iodine. So C has to be more acidic than B. Therefore, the order should have been D, A, then C, and then B. If they ask, sometimes they ask the order also. That is why I'm telling you that also. But in this particular question, they are asking only one. So that is D. Okay. Sure. Moving ahead. The most stable carbocation is. Now we all know carbocation means this species. Carbon is having a positive charge. Now whenever carbon is having a positive charge, what factor do you think will stabilize the carbocation? Now this is quite obvious. Suppose if you are thirsty, obviously you will try to go towards the shade instead of going towards the sunlight, right? Because sunlight will make you more thirsty. Now I'm not talking about giving you water here. Suppose there is no water, there are only shades and sunlight. And if you are thirsty, it is obvious that you will try to go towards shade only. Okay. Similarly, let's consider the opposite case. Suppose if you are feeling cold, there is a cold outside, then obviously you will try to go in sunlight instead of going in shade. So just like that. So whenever your species is having a plus charge over it, it will try to get donating group attached to it. In other words, donating group stabilizes. Donating group increases the stability of a carbocation. And if you have an electron withdrawing group attached to it, electron withdrawing group will decrease the stability, which is obvious. It will increase the potential energy, right? So carbocation can only stabilize by electron withdrawing group. So you got a CH2, which is a carbocation in a benzene ring. Okay. So if you talk about this, see, whenever you have a benzene ring, only those groups can affect your stability by resonance, which are attached to either at ortho position or at para position. Because whenever they are attached at the ortho or para position, then and then only negative or positive charge could reach here. Okay. So if you're talking about all of these species, you have a chlorine here. Chlorine is having a 3 lone pair, and we know chlorine can donate electron density, which will bring the negative charge here, minus 1 by 3. Then also here, minus 1 by 3. And then lastly here, minus 1 by 3. Now you might ask, sir, why you are putting minus 1 by 3? Because there is a single negative charge which is getting delocalized at this ortho and para position. This is para position in reference to chlorine. but there is a single negative charge and it is getting delocalized at 3 position. That is why I need to put minus 1 by 3 there. So if you get the minus 1 by 3 to this position, adjacent to it you have a carbocation. That means carbocation will get some relief here. It will get some relief from positive charge. And when it gets, whenever system goes away from positive charge or a negative charge, that means it is going towards a neutrality or a zero charge, and that always increases system's stability. Okay, as far as this concern, negative charge is going here, that will obviously stabilize the system. Okay, let's look at the next option. You got the NO2 group here. NO2 group is a minus R group. Minus R group means the group which withdraws the electron density away from benzene ring. So nitro group creates the positive charge at this ortho position, positive charge at this ortho position, and lastly positive charge at this position also. Now your carbon is already having a positive charge there, and it will never want a one more plus charge here. Be that plus charge fractional, but it will never want that. That will only make the system destabilize. It will further destabilize it. It is obvious. You are thirsty and you are going in sunlight. That will only make you more thirsty. So it is just like that. So NO2 group will destabilize it. Lastly, you got OCH3 here. OCH3 has an oxygen here, and oxygen donates the lone pair like this. Okay, it is a plus R group, just like the chlorine. Chlorine is also plus R. So it will donate the electron density, again creating a negative charge at ortho position, minus 1 by 3, minus 1 by 3 here. And lastly, you will have a minus 1 by 3 here. So you are getting negative charge here, here and here. So when you got a negative charge here, adjacent to it, it has a positive charge. It will only make it more stable because your carbocation will get relief from its positive charge, making it slightly more stable than what it could have been if there is no OCH3. Okay. And lastly, you have a benzene ring here. In a benzene ring, what will happen? There are no plus R, there are no minus R group. So it will try to stay as neutral. Why? This plus charge can be delocalized now, but this plus charge can be delocalized in the benzene ring, creating again plus 1 by 3 here, because that is the ortho position to CH2 plus, plus 1 by 3 here, and plus 1 by 3 here. Okay, but there are no factor which are annihilating or the factor which are decreasing the effect of plus charge. It is happening only, it is not happening in B, it is not happening in D, it's happening only in C and E. So the most stable carbocation could be either A or it could be C. Now question is, which is the answer? So between chlorine and oxygen, which you think is more closer to carbon? Atomic number of carbon is how much? It's a 6. Then you have a nitrogen 7, oxygen 8, fluorine 9 and chlorine 17. So chlorine is a third group element, whereas oxygen and carbon, both of them are belonging to second group, right? And that is why oxygen can donate electron density more easily to carbon because they are belonging to same period. So the bond formed between them has to be stronger bond because the distance between their atomic number is less, and whenever the distance between the atomic number of two elements is less, the bond formed between them, it will always be more stronger. Sorry, so since this bond is more stronger, oxygen will be donating electron density more easily than the chlorine does, making option C to be most stable carbocation. Okay, I hope you must have enjoyed this. Okay, chalo, moving ahead. Among the following, the aromatic compound is. Now, firstly, let me tell you what are aromatic compounds. See, there has been so many theories put forward by so many scientists. Okay, very few of them actually came to rightful conclusion because many of them had got half the answer. Okay, but one of the scientists from them was Haeckel. His name was Haeckel, and he came to find out the aromaticity almost to the apt. what he said is that any compound, any cyclic, any cyclic conjugated, any cyclic conjugated system containing, any cyclic conjugated system containing 4n plus 2 pi electron. Any cyclic conjugated system containing 4n plus 2 pi electrons is aromatic. Is aromatic. Now, aromatic word actually came from the aroma. You know the meaning of aroma. Aroma means beautiful smell. Okay, I'm not talking about the foul smell. I'm talking about the beautiful smell. So aroma, aromatic compounds, the compounds which initially found from the, what I would say, petroleum extract, they were giving a beautiful smell, a beautiful aroma. Okay, and all of them were having a structure like this. For example, the prime example of that is benzene, and some of them are brothers of benzene. For example, naphthalene. Then you have anthracene, and all of these are aromatic compounds, and they are having aroma. Okay, benzene, all of you know, benzene has a beautiful flowery smell. It's an addictive smell. If you smell the benzene once, it will ask you to come once more to smell it. Okay, it is like that. But anyways, so you cannot tell a given compound by smelling it every time, because there are so many compounds. Okay, and there might be some compound which are poisonous to you, so you can't smell each and every compound. That is why Haeckel came up with the rule which says any cyclic conjugated system containing 4n plus 2 pi electrons is aromatic. Cyclic means what? You know what is meant by cyclic, right? 3 member, 4 member, 5 member, 6 member, 6, 7 member, 8 member, all of these are cyclic. The compound has to form a ring. It must be form a ring. It should be a ring. So ring compounds, all of these are ring compounds. Now conjugated system. What is mean by conjugated system? Your compound or your system should have alternate double single bond. For example, double single, double single, double single, single, double, like that. This system is called as conjugated system. For example, if you look at the benzene, this is the structure of your benzene. Benzene has got a double bond, double bond, double bond. So it has got a double bond, single bond, double bond, single bond, double bond, single bond. So this is what? This is your conjugated system. It is conjugated system. Okay. So now what is mean by that 4n plus 2? That is the important thing. 4n plus 2. That n stands for, that n stands for number of rings. N stand for number of rings. Now your n, actually number of rings, your n should be at least, n is equal to number of rings, but ring should contain at least 4 member. 4, it could contain 5, it could contain 6, it could contain 7, okay, it could contain 8 also, okay, and so on. So this is a 4 member, 5 members, 6 members, 7 member, 8 member. It cannot be 3 membered. If it is a 3 member, your n is 0. Your n is 0 in that case. So 4n plus 2 pi, if you look at the 3 member ring, if you're talking about 3 member ring, then 4n plus 2 pi electrons, its formula becomes what? You're putting n is equal to 0. So 4 into 0 plus 2 pi. 4 into 0 is 0. 0 plus 2, 2 pi. Therefore, 2 pi electrons. The system should have 2 pi electrons if it is a 3 member. Okay. Now, let me tell you one more condition for aromaticity. As I told you, always cyclic, conjugated, and planar also. Sorry, my bad. I forgot to mention that any cyclic, planar. After cyclic, you have planar. First condition, the very first condition is cyclic. Then the very second condition, which is most important, cyclic. Second is planar. Third is conjugated. And fourth is 4n plus 2 pi. So preference, very first preference is cyclic. If system is not cyclic, it can never be aromatic. Mind my words. If system is not cyclic, it can never be aromatic. Second, planarity. As you go away from first condition, there can be might flexible also. For example, system is cyclic, if it can be aromatic. If it is acyclic, it can never be aromatic. That's for sure. But second condition, planar. Yeah. So system wants to be planar always, but there are conditions where sometimes it might not be planar. It might be closer to planar. It might be closer to planar. In that case, it adjusts itself. Why it adjusts itself? There is no necessary or there is no compulsion of adjustment. Why it adjusts? Because aromaticity is a sign of stability. Aromaticity is a sign of stability. And in all the, what I would say, in all the effects, that means inductive effect, resonance, hyperconjugation, electromeric effect, in all, then tautomerism, in all those effects, the most important effect or most dominant effect is resonance. System tries to be system tries to have a aromaticity at any condition. I'm not saying if it can't be aromatic, then also it becomes aromatic. No. If there is a chance, if there is a narrow window of becoming an aromatic, compound would do so. It would become aromatic and then it will sacrifice some of the conditions. And what it can sacrifice, that I'm telling you, it cannot sacrifice cyclicness. It has to be cyclic. Planarity, yeah. If it is closer somewhere to planarity, that's fine. Third, conjugated system. That is also one of the important conditions. It has to be conjugated always. Sometimes it might sound, it might appears to be that it is not conjugated. It will work. And lastly, 4n plus 2 pi electron. This condition has to be there. This condition is always there. Let me tell you how. When n is 0, when you're putting n 0 here, you are getting 2 pi electrons for 3 member. Okay. If your n is 1, if you're putting n as a 1 here, then 4 into 1, 4 plus 2, 6 pi electron. Then 4, therefore, for n is equal to 1, 6 pi electron. And n is equal to 1 can be for benzene ring. So benzene ring is aromatic, we know that. If you put n is equal to 2, 4 into 2, 8. 8 plus 2, 10 pi electron. So basically, aromatic system can have number of pi electrons as 2, 6, 10, 14, 18, 22, 26, 30, like that. You kept on increasing by number 4. 2, 6, 10, 14, 18, 22, 26, 30, 34, 38, like that. So any system which is having a this many or this kind of pi electron can be aromatic. I'm not saying it is aromatic. You need to satisfy other conditions also. Okay. Now let's look at them one by one. Let me tell you one more system. This is aromatic. Okay. There's a one more system, anti-aromatic. Anti-aromatic, you can call that as a, what I would say, step brother of aromatic. Why I'm saying step brother? Because anti-aromatic, step brothers or step sisters are what? You share a father with them or you share a mother with them, right? You don't share both the parents, because if you share both the parents, they are not step brother or sister. So anti-aromatic and aromatic. Aromatic compounds and anti-aromatic compounds are same in every aspect. Anti-aromatic compounds are also cyclic, they are also planar, they are also conjugated. The only difference is, sorry, excuse me, the only difference is number of pi electrons. The number of pi electrons for sorry, the number of pi electrons for anti-aromatic compounds are, it's in the multiple of 4. It's in the multiple of 4. So you will have 4, 8, 12, 16, 20, 24, 28, 32, 36, like that. You know the table of 4, right? I don't need to teach you that now. You must have learned it as a child. So if everything is same, if the system is cyclic, if it is conjugated, it is planar also, but it is having a pi electron count in the multiples of 4, then compound is anti-aromatic. And anti-aromatic compounds are most unstable. Okay. Lastly, you have a non-aromatic. So anything which doesn't fall in these two categories are called as non-aromatic. Okay, so that is what the aromaticity is all about. I needed to tell you the aromaticity here because there can be so many questions being asked in your exam. Okay, so moving ahead. Now let's look at this. This is a 3-member ring. So your n is 0. So n is 0, that means it can have 2 pi electrons. And it is having a 1 pi bond. So since it is having a 1 pi bond, it does have 2 electrons. Okay. But we need to check whether if all the system is planar or not. So your carbon here is sp2 hybridized. Here also it is sp2 hybridized. And here you are having a carbocation. And carbocation wala carbon is always sp2 hybridized. So this is sp2, sp2, sp2. The whole system is planar. It is cyclic. It is conjugated. And it is having a 2 pi electron. That means this compound is an aromatic compound. Okay, that is just your answer. Let me discuss the other. Why others are not aromatic? Look at this. The 5-member ring. The 5-member ring, that means it should have n is equal to 1. When n is equal to 1, it should have 6 pi electrons. How many electrons it has? 4 pi electrons. It has 4 pi electrons. Other than that, it is cyclic. You are seeing it. It is cyclic. Okay. It is conjugated, and you have a double bond, single bond, double, single, double. Apart from that, it has sp2 hybridized carbon. And these other 4 carbon, all of them are doubly bonded. So all of them are sp2 hybridized. That means whole system is sp2 hybridized, making it planar. So it is planar, it is conjugated, it is having a cyclic structure, and it is having a 4 pi electrons. That makes this compound anti-aromatic. It is not aromatic, it is anti-aromatic. Okay. Next, this compound. This compound you can see again 4 pi electrons. It is cyclic, right? It is cyclic. It is planar. It is conjugated. So this compound is also anti-aromatic. Lastly, you are having this as sp2 hybridized. We had seen earlier, and this also as sp2 hybridized. Okay, but you are having a negative charge here. The total electron count goes to 4 pi electron. So this is not aromatic. This is not anti-aromatic. It is non-aromatic. Okay, that's how aromatic compounds can be found out, and that's how they are classified. Okay, so moving ahead. Which of the following compound is the strongest base? Now, strongest base. What are bases? Bases are the compounds. Now, I'm talking about here the compounds which are bases from the organic perspective. Okay, I'm not talking about here from the inorganic perspective. Also, for the organic perspective, compound which can donate lone pair easily. The compounds which can donate lone pair easily are strong bases, right? They are strong bases. Now, which compound can donate a lone pair very easily? Which has availability of electrons, which has availability of same, can donate the lone pair very easily. Okay. Now, now for that you need to consider the hybridization of your nitrogen also. If you look at this nitrogen, first wala, this nitrogen is attached to benzene ring. Okay. Now every nitrogen here, if you consider all the nitrogens, this nitrogen, this nitrogen, this nitrogen, this nitrogen, all of them are sp3 hybridized. So that means all of them are having availability of a lone pair. Okay, but we are yet to discuss the second factor. we need to see whether that lone pair is staying on the nitrogen only, or if it is getting delocalized. Because if it is getting delocalized, there will be a less availability of a nitrogen. Okay. So first nitrogen attached to benzene ring. What happens here? Now we know NH2 group is a plus R group. So plus R group does what? This lone pair is getting delocalized in the benzene ring in this fashion. You get a double bond NH2 plus charge, negative charge here, double bond, double. Okay. Now we already know what resonance is, right? So negative charge coming here first, then it will go here, -1/3, and last it will go here. So basically negative charge is roaming or delocalized in the benzene ring. And out of those four structure, nitrogen is holding a positive charge here. So the availability of nitrogen here is less. If you look at the second example, here there is no resonance because NH2 is not attached to benzene ring. It is attached to cyclohexane ring. And cyclohexane ring actually donates the electron density. It's a plus R group. Sorry, not plus R, plus I group. This is plus I group. So it will only increase the electron density on the nitrogen. Therefore, the B has to be more basic than the A. That's for sure. Okay, but let's look at the other option. Sorry, if you look at the second option again, the nitrogen is again attached to benzene ring. So here also resonance happen. Here also resonance happen. Sorry. So negative charge here also is getting delocalized. Okay. But you are having a plus I group here, CH3. But plus I group will not make anything difference. Okay. The negative charge, sorry, negative charge is always getting delocalized in the whole benzene ring. And that will happen here also. Because here also it is attached to benzene ring. Negative charge again getting delocalized. Apart from that, your nitrogen here is also attached to carbonyl carbon. And carbonyl carbon withdraws the electron density more effectively than the benzene ring does, which makes N double bond CO minus. All of this factor just decreases the electron density on nitrogen. So if the electron density on nitrogen decreases, obviously it becomes less available for donation. But it does not happen in option B. That is why option B has to be the strongest base here. Okay, sure. Moving ahead. Next, COH. Now COH is acidic, we know that. And acidic compounds pK, I would rather say, as acidity increases, pKa value decreases. It is just like pH. As acidic character increases, your pH decreases. The same line, as acidic character increases, pK decreases. Basically, acidic character, how do we count the acidity? Acidity is actually measured by factor called Ka, which is called acid dissociation constant. And for bases, you have a Kb, base dissociation constant. Okay, so Ka is acid dissociation constant. But the scientists earlier, they found that the value of Ka are quite large. It is like 10 raised to 15, 10 raised to 13. Okay, so they thought of taking negative logarithm of Ka. So negative logarithm of Ka, if you take the negative logarithm of 10 raised to 15, it will become minus 50. Or for 10 raised to 13, it will become 10 minus 30. So these are small numbers, na? So small numbers are quite easy. Small numbers can be easily dealt than with this 10 raised to 15 or 10 raised to 13. And therefore minus log Ka becomes pK. So higher the value of Ka, smaller will be the pK. And higher the value of Ka means what? Higher is the dissociation. And that is why, and that is how, higher the acidic character, smaller is the value of pKa. Okay. Therefore, That is what the relationship between pKa and acidity. Now let's look at the COH. We know that COOH attached to benzene ring here, okay, and whatever group is attached here, X. So this COH group donates the proton from the oxygen, making it C double bond O, O minus, releasing H plus ion. Now this negative charge can delocalize there, okay. Now if you get a electron donating or withdrawing group here, now always remember, suppose to this benzene ring at ortho or para position, electron donating groups are there. Now if electron donating groups are there, what would they do? Electron donating group would create a or would donate electron density to this position. So whenever you are getting electron density to this position is directly attached to carbonyl carbon, and your acidity is operating via carbonyl carbon. So carbonyl carbon is having a delta plus on it, and having a delta plus on carbon making it electron deficient, and that is why what does it do? It withdraws the electron density away from this OH group. So oxygen in turn withdraws the electron density away from hydrogen, and the situation comes where oxygen breaks the bond with hydrogen, releasing H plus ion. That is how it can act as an acid. Okay, so the delta plus on the carbon, as the delta plus on carbon increases, the acidity increases, and delta plus on carbon can be increased if the group which is adjacent to this carbon is electron withdrawing, and group adjacent to this carbon can be electron withdrawing if you have electron withdrawing group attached at ortho or para position. Okay, now we do not have a ortho position here. What we have is para position. Now we need to look at whether electron withdrawing group are there or not. So let's generalize this. On summary, electron withdrawing group increases the acidity. Whereas if the electron withdrawing groups are increasing acidity, electron donating group will obviously decrease the acidity. Okay, so out of these four options, let's look at how many of them are donating, how many of them are withdrawing. The very first option, NO2, is electron withdrawing. As we all know, it is a minus I as well as minus R. In both the effects, it shows electron withdrawing capacity. NH2 plus R, it is donating. OH plus R, OCH3 plus R. So answer is quite clear in front of you. It has to be nitro group. Nitro group will only decrease the pKa. That means it will increase its acidity. Okay. Chalo, moving ahead. Which one of the following results most stable carbon free radical? Out of these four, which will give us the most stable carbon free radical? Okay. If you look at the very first option, would it form a bond? A, you have a double bond here, and you have a CH3. So this is pi electron, right? This is pi bond. Pi bond is a weak bond. We know that pi bond is a weak bond. It is loosely held. So you got a pi electrons there, and you got a single electron here. So if this carbon wants to make a bond with this, it needs only a single electron. Therefore, I would write half-headed arrow like this. This half-headed arrow and this half-headed arrow. So CH3 can get attached here also, and it would generate a species which looks like this. CH3 got attached here, but you can see out of these two pi electrons, one has been given to CH3 to form a bond here, right? Because CH3 came up with a single electron, and you need to provide a single electron to that CH3 for it to be able to make a bond. And in the process, out of this two pi electron, one has been given to it, one pi electron is remained here. Basically, you get this carbon free radical. Now this carbon free radical is what? It's a secondary. It's a secondary free radical. Okay. Let's look at this. Now I have told you the whole process here. So I hope you must have understood what you are getting. Okay. Let's write here. If you write it here, this carbon will try to make a bond to this carbon in this fashion. And it would give you this. CH3 gets attached there. Double bond is still here. You are having a free radical. Now you might ask, sir, why did this carbon form a bond with this carbon and not this carbon? Because if it makes a bond with this carbon, you would have got free radical here. And that would have been only secondary free radical. But as I shown you the given case, when it forms the bond with this carbon, you got the free radical here. Now this free radical is allylic free radical. Allylic means what? Whenever you have a doubly bonded carbon, next carbon to that doubly bonded carbon is called as allylic carbon. And whenever you get a negative charge or positive charge or a free radical there, what will happen? It can delocalize like this. And it would delocalize that free radical in this fashion. Now you will get a free radical here. So here also it will happen. This single electron, okay, a single electron, both of them will form a double bond here, CH3. You will get the free radical here. And again it will go back to its original position. Basically, free radicals electron can be delocalized here. Here it cannot be delocalized. It is only a secondary free radical here. Here it is a secondary as well as there is a resonance. So B wala is more stable free radical than A. That's for sure. Next C1. In C, what have we got is CPH, CPH. Then you got what? Double bond CPH, CPH. And then your CH3 comes up with a single electron, right? So what will happen here? This single electron and this electron, they'll come together to give you CPH, sorry, CPH, then you get the CH3 here. And this is where you get the free radical. So this free radical, you can see it is attached to a carbon which is attached to benzene ring. So basically we call this carbon as benzylic carbon. We call this as benzylic carbon. And now this free radical can delocalize to benzene ring at 3 positions. 3 positions here. Here also it gets to delocalize at 3 positions of benzene ring. 3 plus 3, this 6th position via resonance, making it highly stable carbon free radical. And that is why it is more stable than both A and B. Last, D option. And D option we know there cannot be any resonance. D option can give you this CH2, CH2, CH3 free radical. And it is just the primary free radical. It can only stabilize by these 2 hydrogen. There is no other way to stabilize it. That is why the most stable free radical has to be C. Okay. Chalo, moving ahead. 1,2 shift. In this question, you got 1, shift. And what is A? What is A? So when you are doing 1, 2 shift, what happens? Let me draw it for you. This is your system. This system actually is not getting touched by anything. Let's draw it only this. Then you got what? CH3. You got a hydrogen here. You got a CH positive charge. So if you look at the system, this is just the primary carbocation. It is just the primary carbocation. And whenever system gets a chance to get convert from primary carbocation to either a secondary carbocation or any other stable system, it would do so by shifting hydrogen in 1 comma 2 or a carbon. In this particular case, system knows that if it shifts this hydrogen from here to here, basically this hydrogen comes from here to here, then that means this hydrogen is taking both the electrons which it has on a bond with the carbon. So it will come with the electron, basically hydride shift. H minus comes and bond with this carbon, because this carbon is a carbocation. This carbocation is having only a 6 electron. It can only bond with the other system if the incoming system is bringing electrons with it. So this would give you what? This would give you CH3 here. Hydrogen has got shifted there, CH3, bringing a carbocation here. Now this carbon is a tertiary carbon. To it has CH3 on the left hand side, CH3 on the right hand side. So this will contribute 6 alpha hydrogen for which effect? Hyperconjugation, right? Baker-Nathan effect. And apart from that, this carbon now is a benzylic carbon. So being a benzylic carbon, this plus charge can be delocalized in the benzene ring. That was actually the main reason for this 1 comma 2 shift. That is why when the hydride shift happen, this is what you will get. That means your answer here is okay. Sorry. Moving ahead. Spin multiplicity. Spin multiplicity of a triplet nitrene is, now we are already calling it nitrene triplet. So triplet means what? This triplet stands for multiplicity, spin multiplicity. And the formula for multiplicity is how much? Formula for multiplicity is 2s plus 1. 2s plus 1 is called as spin multiplicity. What does S stands for? Your S stands for spin. Your S stands for spin. Okay. Now, when I'm saying triplet nitrene, that means this nitrene must be having a 2 orbital, each having a single electron like this. Because had it been a singlet nitrene, singlet nitrenes are like this. Just a second. Singlet nitrenes would be having both the electrons in the same orbital. So when that is the case, the spin half for one electron is plus half, for other electron is minus half. So your spin plus half minus half, together it becomes 0. When you put the value of H0 here, you get what? 2 into 0 plus 1 is equal to 1. And that will be called as a singlet nitrene. It is not at all triplet, it's a singlet. Okay. Here, this is singlet. This is your singlet nitrene and this is your triplet. In triplet nitrene, you got a single electron here, single electron here. So spin S for this is plus half for one electron, plus half for another electron. So plus half, it becomes 1. So putting that 1 into formula of 2s plus 1, it becomes what? 2 into 1 plus 1, it becomes 3. So 3 is the triplet nitrene. So when you are saying triplet, that means spin multiplicity has to be 3. Then only you can call it as a triplet nitrene. Okay, it's a kind of a, what I would say, it's a kind of a tricky question for you. Had they called it as a singlet nitrene, it would have been a 1. Since they are calling it as a triplet nitrene, it is 3. Therefore, answer is this. Next, the maximum probability of proton loss is in the case of. See, let's look at the first example. Here it can lose the proton, CH2 plus. It will lose the proton will go out and you will get an alkene here. You will get the alkene. Okay. So it can happen here. It can happen here also. Here also it can lose single proton and it can give you CH3, C, CH3, double bond CH2. It can happen here also. It can happen here also. It will lose proton here. And after losing a proton, it is giving you what? It is giving you a benzene ring. And what is benzene ring? Benzene ring is an aromatic compound. So as I have told you earlier, with the any effect, aromaticity is the most dominating effect. Aromaticity is the most dominating effect. So I would not say the proton would not be lost in the case of A, B, and D. It will get lost in case of A, B, D. Each one of them giving alkene. This will also give you alkene. It will happen in all those cases. But in this case, whenever it is losing a proton, it is giving you a aromatic compound. That is why the system which is having the highest probability of losing a proton is C. Okay. Other system might be stabilized if you have a what? If you have a anion there. Suppose if you are having a Cl minus here, then this will not happen. If you are having a NO3 1 minus here, then this might not happen. Here, even if you have an anion to balance this will always happen because system knows if I do this, I will become aromatic. And when I'll become aromatic, I'll become a more stable. Okay. That is why the answer here is C. Okay. So moving ahead. Next. So this is the Grignard reagent. You can see clearly. This is your Grignard reagent. And in a Grignard reagent, what do we have? The carbon which is attached to magnesium is having a delta minus over it. Okay, carbon which is attached to magnesium is having a delta minus. So basically this species is a nucleophilic. Why it is having a negative charge, delta minus charge? Because magnesium is a metal, carbon is a non-metal. So carbon is attached to metal. Obviously, carbon, though carbon is not that electronegative when you are comparing it with the oxygen, fluorine, nitrogen, chlorine, okay, but if you're comparing it with the metals, oh yes, it is very non-metallic. In fact, the electronegativity difference between carbon and magnesium is almost of 1.3 or 1.4, which is giving a strong delta minus on the carbon. That is why it is nucleophilic. Now, what is this? This is epoxide. The species you are seeing here is epoxide. And epoxides are, you can call them as ethers also, but better to be called them as cyclic ethers, because they are ethers, but they are cyclic ethers. If you talk about normal ethers, in normal ethers, this carbon do not have a delta plus. This carbon do not have any delta plus as such. So this is not possible. But whenever your ether becomes a cyclic, whenever it forms a ring, now this carbon will have a delta plus. This is a kind of what I would say anomaly. This is kind of anomaly which oxygen shows. Nitrogen also shows. When they are singly bonded, they do not withdraw the electron density. Whenever they are in the ring, whenever they are in the ring, so even if they are singly bonded, they will start withdrawing the electron density. So creating a delta plus on both the carbon, delta plus here, delta minus here. What will happen? This carbon being a nucleophile, it will attack on either of the carbon. Why I'm saying either of the carbon? Because both the carbons are having same steric hindrance. So as soon as it attacks, one of the bond will break, because otherwise valency of carbon would become a pi-u. And that is why it will give you this species. Double bond. You got what? CH2 here. CH2 O minus counterbalanced by MgBr plus charge. When you perform its hydrolysis, H2O, hydrogen will get attached here and you will get this species. Benzene ring CH2 CH2OH. This is was never in the case. This is also not in case. No reaction. No, reaction does happen. That is why your answer here is B. Okay. And that is how you can get this answer. Okay. Chalo. Moving ahead. Energy of activation. Energy of activation is lower for which reaction? Now, energy of activation means what? See, if let me tell you one thing. Stability. Everything in the universe wants to attain a stability, and stability is inversely proportional to potential energy. Higher the potential energy, smaller is the stability, and vice versa, obviously. So, energy of activation is lower. That means that reaction is most likely to happen. See, let me tell you that through the graph. So, this is the graph, okay, okay, and suppose A plus B, they are reacting to give you C plus D. So this is basically energy. So not energy, potential energy here. This is your potential energy. Oh, no, no. So my bad. On the y-axis, do you have potential energy? This is potential energy. Here you have a reaction coordinates. Okay. So your system has already achieved this much energy, A plus B. From there, it needs to go till this point. And this difference is called as delta E act. Act means activation. Delta E, energy of activation. So this is your transition point. From here, it could fall to product side. This is your product. Okay. This is your reactant, obviously. So if the system gain this much energy, then it will reach to the transition state. From there, it could fall to the product side where energy has got decreased. You can see energy of product is less than energy of reactant, making product to be more stable and hence to be more probable. Okay. So anything which has less energy of activation would have more probability to happen. So if this energy of activation is higher, the reaction to happens, the probability for reaction to happen would be obviously less. Okay. So in this particular case, they are asking energy of activation is lower. That means which will happen faster. Okay. If you look at the very first species, A option, you are getting RCH2OH2. Here, oxygen is departing by taking 2 hydrogen. That means water is going out. You are getting RCH2 plus, which is primary carbocation. Okay. If you look at the second option, R2CH, here oxygen is going to give you secondary carbocation. Lastly, here also oxygen is going to give you tertiary carbocation. And look, system is quite smart. System detects itself that after the departure of oxygen, what I'm going to get converted to. If I'm going to get converted to a primary, I will not let that happen that easily. If I know I'm going to get converted to secondary carbocation, it will be having a slightly higher probability than what it has for the primary. Lastly, tertiary. When system knows that once the oxygen departs, I will be getting converted into a tertiary carbocation, system says, okay, let it happen. We don't care because we are stable then also. And therefore, in that case, that reaction will happen very easily. When it happens very easily, that means energy of activation is quite less for it. And that is why, as far as this question is concerned, for the C, you will be having the lower energy of activation. And as far as highest energy of activation is concerned, it is for A. A will be having the highest energy of activation, B will be having the second, C will be having the less. Now I'm telling you this, the whole thing, because sometimes they might ask you a reverse question. They'll give you option, they'll ask you energy of activation is highest for which reaction. So in that case, answer could be A. Here they have asked lowest, that is why answer was C. Sometimes they might ask you the order A, B, C. Okay, so that is how I have covered all the part of this particular concept. Okay, so moving ahead. Which of the following shows the correct order of decreasing basicity in aqueous medium? Oh yes, this question has been asked in so many exams, be it a JE exam, be it a NEET exam, AIEEE exam, BHU exam, AIMS exam, KCET. There are so many exams. It has been asked in so many exams. In Maharashtra CET also it has been asked. Why this? Why? Because this question, basically this concept comes from the NCERT. In NCERT, they have highlighted this part to the very good extent. Why? Now let me tell you the let me tell you from the very first thing. शुरू से शुरू करते हैं, ठीक है? So, as I told you earlier, we had seen earlier what basicity is, right? Basicity is the ability of any atom to donate the lone pair or a negative charge. Basically, basicity is the capacity of any system to donate the electron density. Okay. Now, when system can donate electron density more easily, when it has higher amount of electron density along with electron donating groups attached to it. Okay. In this particular case, we are talking about the amines. The examples you are seeing here are amines. Okay, let's look at them one by one. Very first, you are starting with ammonia. In ammonia, you got nitrogen attached to 3 hydrogen, 1 lone pair. Okay, so ammonia is basic. We all knew that. Then what happens? You replace 1 hydrogen by CH3. Replace 1 hydrogen by CH3, you get CH3NH2. Now, your nitrogen out of 3 hydrogen, 1 hydrogen has been replaced by CH3. Lone pair is still there. And CH3 is what? CH3 is a plus I group. So plus I group means what? It will donate the electron density to the nitrogen, making this lone pair to be more available for donation, making it more basic than the ammonia. That is why primary amine is more basic than the ammonia. Then you replace 1 more hydrogen. Now you will have now you will have secondary amine. Now you have lone pair is still there, but now you have 2 plus I groups, plus I, plus I. So the donation will be happening from both the side, making lone pair more available for donation. And same thing will happen when you replace all the hydrogen on the nitrogen, making it a tertiary amine. Now it is more specific. We know that. Now, see, you can see here clearly in tertiary amine, nitrogen is attached to 3 donating groups. In secondary, it is attached to 2 only. In primary, it is attached to 1. In ammonia, there is no donating group. So making tertiary amine to be most basic. Okay, but here comes a catch. Okay, before moving to catch, let me tell you one more thing. Whatever order of basicity you are seeing right now on the screen, this happens in a gaseous phase. This happens in a gaseous phase. So this order will always be like this in a gaseous phase. Okay, but whenever you measure basicity or acidity, it is concerned with the aqueous medium. It is quite easy to measure the acidity or basicity in a aqueous medium. When you are talking about aqueous medium, what happens as soon as this nitrogen donates, the proton, let's talk about NH4 plus. As soon as it donates lone pair, now it is donating lone pair to what? It is donating lone pair to H plus I, right? Bringing a plus charge here. Now, since system is in an aqueous medium, and whenever you get a plus charge, it is getting solvated from all the sides by water. So this gets solvated, this gets solvated, this gets solvated, and this hydrogen also gets solvated. more the extent of solvation, more will be the energy released. More the energy released, more stable is this species. Which species? NH4 plus. NH4 plus, we can call it as conjugate acid, right? It is a conjugate acid because it has been obtained by donation of a lone pair by a base. So whenever base donates a lone pair to proton, it gets converted to its conjugate acid. So this conjugate acid NH4 plus is having a 4 hydrogen attached to nitrogen, and all those 4 hydrogen are getting solvated by a water. Solvation means there must be some interaction between that hydrogen and oxygen of water. And as I told you, whenever there is an interaction of any sort, interaction could be weak, interaction could be strong. Whenever there is an interaction, there is a release of energy. When there is a release of energy, the overall energy of the system gets decreased. When the overall energy of the system gets decreased, its stability increases. When stability increases, that means conjugate acid is becoming more stable. So if the conjugate acid is more stable, the conjugate base has to be more strong. Okay. So for NH4 plus, you got the 4 hydrogen for the solvation. For the CH3 primary amine, for the primary amine, you got 3 hydrogen for the solvation. Okay, 3 hydrogen. Here the solvation will happen. OH2, OH2 and OH2, right? Then you got the secondary. Secondary amine will have CH3, it will have 2 hydrogen for solvation. OH2, lastly OH2. And for tertiary, CH3 3NH plus charge. It will be having only single hydrogen. It will be having only single hydrogen for the solvation. So therefore, the extent of solution would be least. The extent of solution would be least in case of tertiary, and extent of solution would be highest as far as ammonia is concerned. Okay. If you take the average, see, there are 2 factors here. One factor is the extent of electron donation. Extent of electron donation is highest for tertiary amine and lowest for the ammonia. Okay. So in that case, tertiary amine is winning the race and ammonia is losing the race. Okay. As far as solvation is concerned, in solvation, ammonia is winning the race because it is getting solvated for the 4 hydrogen, and tertiary amine is getting solvated for the 1 hydrogen only. Okay. In all these cases, what happens? The secondary amine is coming somewhere intermediate. It is coming somewhere intermediate for both the cases. That means what? It is having considerable amount of electron donating group firstly. Secondly, it is showing considerable amount of a solvation also because it has got 2 hydrogen. And that is why if you take the average of both the things, secondary amine is winning the race. That is why in aqueous medium, secondary amine is the strongest base. After secondary amine, the primary amine. Primary amine is also showing the more extent of a solvation. So then you might say, sir, then ammonia is having a more extent of solvation than the primary amine. Yes, you are right. But primary amine is also having a electron donating group. No, it is also having a donating group, which is stabilizing the plus charge to some extent. Okay, so that is also contributing there. That is why after secondary amine, immediately it comes the primary amine. After primary amine, then you have a tertiary amine. Tertiary amine is only slightly weaker base than the primary. That is why the order of basicity in aqueous medium goes like this: secondary amine, primary amine, tertiary amine, and lastly ammonia. Ammonia has to be last. That means the extent of solvation isn't enough. Extent of solvation isn't enough to make it a more basic. You also need to have a donating groups there, right? That is why the answer here is C. Okay, it is remember this very clearly. It has been given in NCERT books also, and many board books it has been given. Okay, chalo. The next question. Which of the following shows the correct order of decreasing acidity? Which of the following shows the correct order of decreasing acidity? Now, I have told you earlier that more the electron withdrawing groups are there, more will be the acidity. If you look at all the four options here, what do you observe? One thing which is common, pH. pH means benzene ring here. Benzene ring is common here. Benzene, everything is attached to benzene ring. Okay, so that part is common. We need to talk or we need to discuss about that part which is different. So what are different groups? You got four groups: SO3H, COH, then you got OH, and then you got CH2OH. Now you only tell me if I talk about the inductive effect, especially minus I effect, which is strongest minus I group. Now we all know, we have learned about that order when you are learning GOC in your regular classes. SO3H is the strongest minus I group. It has to be come to the first. As far as this case is concerned, SO3H has to be first. Then you got a COH, which is also withdrawing. Then you got the OH, which is actually not withdrawing as such. And then you got a CH2H, which is alkyl group. That is why SO3H must be, pH SO3H must be strongest acid. Then you got the benzoic acid, then you got the phenol, and then you got the benzyl alcohol. And which option is making it? pH, yeah, the D option. D option making it SO3H, COH, PHOH, and PHCH2OH. Okay, so that is how we can solve different kind of questions in our GOC. Okay, that's it for today's lecture. So in this lecture, we have covered as much concept as we could. Okay, I hope you must have enjoyed this session. For more such courses, please like and subscribe to Practically channel, which is named by Practically Live on YouTube. Okay, you can also download our app from a Google Play Store or from an Apple App Store. You can log into it, where you will be seeing the very interesting courses from the subject like robotics, chess. Then you have robotics, chess. Apart from that, you also have a Vedic maths. Okay, you will really enjoy all those courses. So please log into it. Please check it out. Okay, that's it for today's lecture. Bye bye, everyone.